Hello and good morning, dear Overlap2D cult followers. As you might already know, that we were not releasing there was like several weeks of not a new version of Overlap2D. We're stuck on 006 because we're actually trying to gather some feedback on how to make it better. And besides just asking you and reading the forums, we thought we would make a game ourselves to test the Overlap2D to the limits and see what we can do with it and what we can't, and to better understand the user experience. And as you might already know from my recent tweets or blog posts, we made a game and it's already on Google Play, and it's called Top Ventures, and we made it heavily relying on Overlap2D. That is, and obviously libgdx, which is awesome. We had an opportunity to launch simultaneously on Android and iOS, and also on Amazon. And the entire development took us around 3 weeks, a little bit less or more depending on when do you actually decide we started. I thought I'd just go and make this video that is a kind of making of the game, that shows the project structure and how we solved different problems, and maybe that'll help you to figure out how to do your own game. So yeah, let's well, first of all, if you haven't seen the game, you might want to try just taking a look at it like here, or say searching Top Ventures on the Google Play before watching this video. But if you did, then click ahead. I mean, don't click, just watch ahead. So let me just run the game here. So yeah, this is kind of a development version. So it's a bit different from what it is you will find on Google Play right now. We're preparing for next release, and what I want to show you is the project structure in Overlap2D. Okay. Yep, and here it is. So as you can see, we're developing on a big resolution, that is 2400 and 1440 in width. This is the original resolution that is these size textures are never used in game, because but those are good for development, and those are good for downscaling later. So yeah, this is how it looks in Overlap, and if I go a bit on the project structure, those are the assets we have. As you can see, they are all together. Doesn't matter if those are heroes or characters or UI elements, all in one place, which is actually bad. So we really think about improving that part in Overlap2D and making this is like sortable, filterable, searchable, I don't know, somehow to avoid the chaos. And as you can see, the spine animations with the mobs are here too, and like this one. Yep. So let's go ahead and take a look at our layer structure. So this is basically how we did it. The game has a background, obviously, which is a sky color, and we have this is very actually small image, but we scaled it, so it's just a gradient. It can be a pixel wide, but it's 15 pixels in our case. And it does have an identifier, so from the code, whenever we change a location, we change the sky image to a different one. If I can just find it somewhere here, I think those are the sky images. Yep, this is one, and we have different skies here for different locations. So we just change the structure from the code, and I just put one from on the Overlap2D end. We don't usually see it when we develop. Then there is the default layer that has the main stuff in it, and the game layer on which we actually put the monsters. It's not mainly used from the UI standpoint. The most important part we did here is actually a very interesting UI. Uh, because we didn't use the standard libgdx UI solutions, we try to do everything with overlap, and even if it's hard sometimes. So just to have a proof of concept that you can do lots of stuff. And so this is in our UI layer, and we also have different layers for tabs, which we're gonna talk about a bit later. So first of all, like you can see, we have several progress bars here, like this one, and the way progress bars work is just lots of 9patch images. This is a 9patch, and this is just an image, and this is 9patch too, and this is a label. And what we just put them any way we want. The only rule is we have this one 9patch that's called, this has this ID, special ID, and we just stretch it all the way to the end. So we don't leave it like this. We stretch it all the way to the end. So the iScript that is attached to it will know the maximum size of the progress bar by searching for it by name, and then it will adjust the size next time you just set a percent you want it to fill with, and also it will set the value here. So this is, I think it's our here. This is the codes we have, and this is the iProgress bar here, which is, it implements iScript and it does all the stuff related to being a progress bar. We're thinking about sharing some of those scripts we made on the GitHub so you guys can reuse later. So just ask or let me know if that's a good idea. And you can see that we have another progress bar which is made exactly by the same logic here. If we remove this little gradient or just lock it, you can see that again we have this the same thing here, and it's a 9patch, although it could have been just an image because it's just a scaled image. And it is stretched to the maximum, and we have the label, and you can see the label is now positioned even outside the box, below the 0 coordinate, and that's the part I like, that you can position everything everywhere, and the hierarchy doesn't matter, and you can put everything wherever you want as long as you name them correctly, and the scripts will do the rest. Okay. And now that we have the progress bars, let's go to the tabs, which is actually the more complicated part. I think it's the most complicated UI part we did here. So for the tabs, we're using these two things. Let me just lock this. So yeah, we have the tab content, the tab buttons themselves separately from the tab content. And this is an iScript, and it doesn't matter how many buttons you put inside, it will make them clickable, and it will basically, when you select one button, the others will unselect, and so on. And each button has this little structure with an icon here, and with the checked image. So you can see that inside the checked image there is this thing at the bottom that is kind of saying that this is the current selection, and when it's not checked it's gone and this is green, but the icon is still there because it's on a different layer. And then there is normal and pressed kind of images. This is all 9patches again. So this button is just a button by itself, but when it's put inside this composite item and get a special iScript attached to it, which is tabbed UI script, it kind of becomes, those buttons kind of become grouped together, and they know how to turn the others off and on. And when they do, they actually interact with the tab content that you can see here. The tab content is basically a composite item that has as many layers as we had tabs, and each layer will represent the content of it. So we just lock and hide and remove them with the script. As you can see, the ability and companions tabs are empty because those are just scroll bars, and we just put different things in them. But the chart tab is not, and we have all the information for the character, and mainly labels and buttons and things like that. So yeah, that's about it for the tabs, and just wanted to show you quickly the structures of buttons we have. And here's the structure. As you probably, or if you use buttons, then you know this. We have a normal and pressed layers generated automatically. So this is pressed and not pressed states, and then it can be also locked, which we added here, and then it has text. And then you just we attached the, let me find it, the button script. Well, we have, oh right, this one is actually comes with Overlap2D, so it's a simple button script. So if you go here, yep, see, this one comes with Overlap2D, and you guys can use it too. So it's a simple button script. Does it have the locked? No, the locked comes differently. Okay. So yeah, that's how buttons work, and basically every button we have is using the same script. It doesn't matter which one, or maybe this claim button does the same thing. If we also, it's really worth showing you the work we done with the changes we done with the labels. For example, let me just go ahead and open. Let's talk about our dialog system before that. We have this script that's called the dialog script, and it can attach to any dialog basically. And if I show you just this simple example, this is our exit dialog, and it has this 9-patch for the background. Here you can size it whatever you want. And besides that, it's important for it to have the close button and the exit button, and it has the text. So basically the dialog script, you can attach it to any composite item, and what it will do, it will just add a possibility to show hide it, but it will also look for a close button with this identifier, and if you have it, then it will be closable with this button, or exit button. This is a keyword that works too. And then it will work, it will search for text. So if you and it will give you a method called setText, so you can set the text of any dialog box. So basically you're very flexible in making your dialogs. You can make any composite item a dialog and then put buttons in it whenever you want, how you want it. You can use text or not use text, and do whatever you want. And the cool part we did here about the labels is we kind of changed the logic of labels. The current Overlap2D version you have doesn't support multi-line labels, which is bad, and we had to add this functionality for the making of Top Ventures. So right now the labels are a bit different. You can change the width and height any way you want, and this will kind of not affect the size of the text. The size of the text is decided by the size or the scale, but the width and height are kind of different. So if let me just make it, if I make it smaller, something like that, then you see we have more lines of text here, so it will try to fit the size. So let me just get it back here, and of course you can choose any font, you can choose different font size, whatever you want. And because you can now set a bigger like container size for it, we can do things like aligning, so you can align it to top or bottom right, and whatever you think is necessary. So yeah, that's for the labels and the dialogues, and this version hopefully will be coming soon to you as well in 007. What else? Let's talk about the menu here. So different parts that are not visible here are in the library, and we have let's find, I think we should have a search button here in library as well. So yeah, here's the menu UI, and you can see we have this beautiful button here, and this button works again as any other button we have. It has 2 layers, pressed and normal, but while the pressed is just an image, the normal state has 2 particle effects in it. So we thought we'd kinda do this little magic sand falling from the button effect to make it look cool. So those are 2 particle effects, and these are only visible when you have your button in normal state, but they're not in the press state. So yeah, and then we just put the menu on top of everything with the code, with a little bit coding magic. Now for the locations and the bosses and things like that, we decided to have the system and put them all in the library. So as you can see in our assets, we have lots of images like this or this, and those are parts the locations are made from. And if you look here, I can show you several locations. Like this is the naming convention, location 6.1, 6.2 and 6.3, and the idea here is that 6.1, 6.3 is it's kind of the same locations, but they're a bit richer in the content. So this is just the island. This is island with some blood and spiders, and this is the island with blood spiders, a thingy of a mummified whatever, and this little rock here. And this, as you can see, we put the composite item a bit lower than its 0 point. So next time we want to put a monster inside it, we just put it on the 0 coordinate, and it kind of stays on the like middle of the island, so it looks inside. And we don't have to manipulate coordinates with our well, we don't have to hard code them. And for the monsters themselves, we have this M1, M7, M6 and 5 things in library like this. So if I just drag and drop this is a composite item, and there is a spine animation inside. The reason we use composite items is because we might want to put some particle effects in future there, and plus currently you can't have a library items that is not a composite item. So and we do really want it to have them inside the library. And from here the spine animation shows us the all possible animations, and every mob here has a death animation, so the way it dies, the way we hit it, and the idle animation. And this is true except for the bosses. So if we go to I think we need a bigger number here, like M26 or something. Yeah, this one also will have an intro animation, the init. So this is how it kind of starts, and then it starts doing this thing. Okay. Well, so that's mainly that about the structure. We didn't use any light effects here or physics because we didn't need to. And now because Top Venture supports lots of sizes and resolutions and devices, this is our current setup. So besides the original resolutions that we never use inside any of the game, we have those other resolutions that we do. So this is 800 on 480, and this is the bigger one. So that was the small phone, and this is a big phone. This is also for tablets. And then there are the iOS resolutions. This one for the iPhone, and this one is for the iPad. And so the other thing you can notice here is obviously we didn't want this to look the same way on the iPad as it does look on the iPhone. So that's why we created those additional scenes. So this is a main scene, but if we go to a landscape scene, it looks a bit different. It has all the same things inside, and this is the same size, but this is how it looks. The menu part and the tabs got to the left, and the game itself is on the right, and you can see there are some kind of imperfections here that are fixed with the coding, so you can do everything with overlap, but those little things you can. Yeah, and so basically that's how it looks. There is also this other scene we made with a short aspect. This is for the kind of short small fonts. It's a little bit different here that the name of the location gets to the upper part, and it kind of give you more place here. And the other thing I wanted to talk about is the thing we work with labels here. You see, we really wanted to have, and this is going to be out in the next version, we really wanted to have a stroke kind of border on our labels, but we couldn't because Overlap2D uses TTF fonts. So what we did is we left it as is in the Overlap2D, and inside change our resource manager here. So when it asks, basically when Overlap2D asks it to load a TTF font of a certain name, instead it goes to the assets and loads a bitmap font instead. And we generated the bitmap fonts, I can show you right now, but they do have strokes and borders, so that's how we solved it. For the animations, fine animations themselves, we made this little trick of not loading all of them at once, because that's a lot of pictures there. What we did instead is every 10 location or so we see what are the next monsters to load, and if there are some we can unload, we unload them from the memory and load only the ones that is necessary, so the change. And the way we achieved it is by let me open this. So we had this, as you know, Overlap comes with a resource manager. So first we extended this and make the async resource manager, and async resource manager basically uses libgdx asset manager to load the resources asynchronously. So you can load things without um, stopping your main loop and or any animations that go on. So things will load on background. And then we also extended that and created a clicker resource manager. Basically, this is a TopVentures resource manager. Should rename that one. And so what it does is, besides loading sounds and music, it also does this little trick of deciding when and what monster to load or unload, and to keep the memory clean. So that is why TopVentures tries to use as less memory of your device as possible. Okay, and I guess that's that. So because we use libgdx and an awesome thing called RoboVM, we were able to compile the same thing for the iOS, and that was really quick and fast. So we have TopVentures live on the Apple Store and Google Play all together. Yeah, hope this was helpful to you guys, and if you have any questions, then you can ask in forums. We might make a thread for that. And yeah, I guess that's it, and happy coding, everyone.